Hi, Beth Poindexter here, and I'm very excited to be with you today, James Schmidt. Thank you for being
Hello.
here. We are talking because you are on the Youth Advisory Council for Living the Potential Network, and you've had a really interesting educational journey. And Living the Potential Network is about creating meaningful learning journeys in an intergenerational context. So ever since we've met, I've learned so much from you, and I was so excited that you would join our Youth Advisory Council as a key leader. So thank you for saying yes. And I'm wondering,
It was my pleasure.
yeah, what is it that you've seen or heard that makes you want to say yes to be on the Youth Advisory Council?
Well, I really enjoy the environment that is created by all of the people on it. You and Amanda and Aaron and Alyssa and Fahim, um, and everybody is just so brilliant. And I really appreciate the environment that you've created. And I greatly appreciate sort of the pathway to achieve things.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Does
Now,
that make
oh
sense?
yeah, totally. And you're a recent graduate. You're a recent graduate of Village Home, and your own learning journey has been really an interesting one in which you have, I would call, you're a self-directed learner. You found your way through the maze, so to speak. And I understand that you're going to be heading off to community college, and there's something about what you want to learn and what's brought you to that. So tell us a little bit about your learning journey and why you're interested in this living the potential learning model.
Well, at a rather early age, my parents took me out of the traditional school system because they found out that the teacher was telling me not to read to the other kids in, I believe it was kindergarten, because it was making them feel bad. And they all and they both had some very poor experiences in public school when they were children. So they already weren't exactly entranced with the traditional school environment. So they decided to homeschool with some suggestions from their friends. And it was kind of rocky at first. We had trouble figuring out a good method and system for my learning process. But then we stumbled upon Village Home, and we basically instantly clicked. I greatly enjoyed the environment there. I greatly enjoyed the freedom there, where I had input on which classes I wanted to take, and I was free to self-direct my learning. And furthermore, I could learn in the way that was best for me. For example, my autism, because of my autism, I have I learn in different ways than a lot of other people. For example, when I need to process, I often pace back and forth across a room. And that didn't fit very well in a traditional school. But at Village Home, I was free to pace in the back of the class, you know, and I made sure to, pace quietly and try not to stomp and in the back of the classroom so as not to distract from the teacher. But I would, but I was free to do it
Mhm.
and to process in my own way without having to conform to an existing standard.
Yes,
I,
exactly.
I just had to make sure to, not be disruptive as
Exactly.
anyone would.
Right.
And it's things like that that really helped me mature and grow and learn how to regulate my autism and how to regulate my ADD and how to learn to um, use the strengths those differences give me and how to bypass the weaknesses those
Yeah.
traits give me.
It's perfect. And you found, as a matter of fact, I heard you speak on one of our podlucks that we do every Saturday. And I think in the garden experiment, our workshop, you mentioned that through your learning journey, because you were able to be in an environment where you could be supported and that you learned differently than a lot of people, but you were able to create what they call what you call a translation matrix. Could you speak a little bit about that? Because you created something that I think is really a powerful tool that I can't wait to learn more about because I think a lot of people could use it these days. What is a translation
Right.
matrix?
So it's what it's the sort of name and visualization I give to the sort of collection of knowledge I've built up over my years of learning how people work. A- as an autistic person, I often have a more my mind can sometimes be more rigid and sometimes be more and oftentimes more uh, logical and binary in thinking. And so I often think in terms of processes and logic. That might make me sound like an android, but that's sort of how it feels sometimes.
I know, but here's the thing is that people, when they say, I hear what you say, but you don't know what I mean, there's a lot of distinctions in communication that needs
Right.
clarifying, especially these days. So I'm really grateful to learn from you. And I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, you're heading off to community college where you're studying to become a therapist and you're working in time to be um, a leading partner in this youth advisory council for Living the Potential Network. Why did you say yes? And what is it that you're looking forward to in your busy life these days?
Um, well, I'm looking forward to starting college and just in general transitioning to an adult life. Uh, it's a it's kind of confusing, and if I'm being honest, a little scary to sort of leave my childhood and transition to a more adult life. But I'm confident that I'll be able to make the most of it and
Absolutely. Well, the fact that
grow and
you, yeah,
change to my new experiences.
right. Well, that's awesome because, choosing to study to become a therapist is that you want to help people. And
Right.
it's not always easy, is it, to find
Yeah.
our way in the midst of so much change. So I'm really grateful, James, that you see a way for you to be a part of the positive change and living the potential as a youth advisory leader. So thank you so much for saying yes. Is there any parting words that you'd like to say before we say goodbye for now?
Yeah. I just wanted to add a bit about the translation matrix. Uh, Basically, what I've tried to do is that I, one of the difficulties is that I have trouble sort of um, understanding and going with the flow of social situations and conversations. So, what I've been trying to do is look at and analyze the different contexts and situations that I've seen and figure out how the processes of those flows go, and in doing so learn how to manage and process what people are saying to me, which sometimes if they're using a lot of metaphors or sarcasm, uh, I don't always understand. And I can use this database of knowledge to sort of translate that into things that make more sense to me.
Perfect.
And I can translate my inner thoughts, which can sometimes be uh, different and hard for people to understand. I can translate that into something more comprehensible and something that the specific person that I'm talking to can understand and fit into their sort of concept of how people work.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, totally, totally. I just feel because you've lived it, this is what you want to share with the world came from your own experience. Now going to school and learning, how to be a therapist, but you already have a sense of how to figure out who you are and how to bring that to the world along with a therapy study. It's a lot different than people who haven't figured out who they are yet and they're still looking out there. You're bringing you to your learning, and I love that. So I'm so grateful that you're joining us. We'll be hearing more from you, James. Thank you so much.